Welcome to the Front Porch. Real conversations about life, leadership, and perseverance. Each week, Dennis Polian and Jay Davis bring you inspiring stories and lessons to help you grow, lead, and thrive. Pull up a chair. The conversation starts now.
Happy New Year. Welcome back to the Front Porch. Another conversation with Dennis Polian and my friend Jay Davis. Good to see you, Jay.
It's good to be here.
Today is, as we're recording this, we're about an hour and a half from kickoff of the CFP National Championship. And leading up to that, I'm about to go on a little bit of a rant, just so everybody knows. Leading up to that, there has been constant conversation about the chaos of college football at the end of the year. And I agree with quite a bit of it in terms of scheduling, and you're sandwiching the playoffs in the middle of the NFL end of their regular season and postseason, which is a competitive mistake in my opinion, but one that's going to take years to rectify. But there's something that I really, it really like actually just irks me.
Tell us about
And
it.
that is all of the talk about chaos. And head coaches have too much to do. They're trying to prepare for a playoff game, and they're also trying to prepare for the portal and keep their own kids, et cetera, et cetera. When I think that that's really something that, to be honest, is a narrative that I'm not sure where it started, but I know that some people in college football play on it to distract from their own struggles, the fact that they're not in the playoff, to use it as a foundation to stand on when they argue about the rules that they helped champion are not in their favor, but when they were for those rules, they were in their favor. And all of those things become so much noise when the reality is, at the end of the day, I looked at a small Big 12 program, not the one down the street, but another one. They have 40 people under the head coach. So is it really the head coach is really trying to manage the portal, manage keeping his own kids, and prepare for a playoff game, and not delegating to those 40 people? They don't have a process in place that makes them successful. They don't have systems and the right people to do those jobs. The head coach is a CEO, and for years they have been recruiting and preparing for postseason. And the reason it kind of got to me was because when I'm working on growing my business, 12 months a year, there's a lot of things going on.
Every day.
Every single day, 7 days a week, as a leader in a business, there's what's perceived to be chaos. But if you have the right systems and processes and people, there really is no chaos on the inside. So there's a lot to learn from the Indianas of the world and how Curt Cignetti has gone about things that business leaders in any field can use when their team has kind of moments of turbulence, when there's a lot going on, when you're hitting deadlines, when there's some pressure to close a big account, or close on a real estate deal, or pivot your product offerings, all of those things. There's a lot of parallels to it. And I think my real frustration is, why do so many people listen to the noise?
Are you done?
I think so. Yeah, I'm good. It's Festivus for the rest of us.
Wow. That's some pent-up frustration there. I don't know really what part of that to answer. I think the programs, I won't say specific coaches, but I think the programs that get out in front with that excuse are trying to kind of appease the fan base if they lose the game a little bit. I mean, there's pressure makes us all do and say and act. We do weird things. We say weird things. We react. And for those coaches that have been in the playoffs, I mean, for the majority, I mean, not to disparage, you know, the JMU, who was the other team? Tulane, which you had experience there at Tulane. Yeah, it seems like a convenient excuse. And, you know, if you have these standards, if you truly have the standards, then the standards will determine the outcome. So there's really no reason to make to get out in front and make an excuse for, you know, I've got to do this, this, and this. I mean, a small Big 12 program has 40 people as a support staff, a direct support staff to the head coach. If you're taking that on yourself, then I mean, I shouldn't sit here and say, because I'm not in that position, but you're not doing your job.
I mean, essentially,
right?
And it's, you know, I wanted to ask you, you know, in the golf world, you know, because it's a little different, because you have a smaller team, you have, you're not game planning per se to manage 22 athletes on the field, or, you know, between three phases. It's you playing and your caddy, but I was thinking about the number of moving parts you had to deal with and manage week to week to get yourself from one place to the next, mentally and physically ready to go and compete.
Yeah, and to be able to manage that successfully, I mean, the standards, I hate to say it, the standards were the standard, right? I mean, everything from, routines in golf. I mean, routines, I don't care what you do. If it's small business, if it's Big 12 football, if it's this playoff game tonight. And again, you know, to kind of follow up to your point about Cignetti, is you haven't heard him complain about the portal directly, and having to do all that, because he has his routine, he has his standards, and I think what has made him successful, and you have way more expertise at that industry in that arena than I do, is just that he simplified the process to make it about the next play, not about, you know, I was thinking about this morning, how he would approach his team tonight, and I don't think Indiana's never won a national championship. And just being an outside observer and kind of reading and watching and some of the interviews this week is I don't think Coach Cignetti would go in that locker room tonight and preach about making history, because then that gets his guys that have been so process-oriented, next play, to now their mind shifts to what could be, which is going to destroy everything that they've been about for the last 2 years at IU. And that would totally derail their focus, I think.
Yep. And that's a great word, focus, because he's created an environment that allows them to focus, which by definition, the technical definition of focus is the ability to concentrate and work on one thing at a time. And the only way you can do that is by having a process. You know, it's like I tell my son Finn all the time, hey, you're not going to play on that Xbox until you accomplish what you've already started, which is your homework. And we're going to focus on your homework. And that's the step that we take for you to take your next step. It's really, I believe it's really that simple. And when you go back in time to great CEOs from a business perspective, Jack Welch was just exactly that way with General Electric. Think about chaos. Air conditioners, jet engines, locomotives, light bulbs, microwaves, what else? They made everything.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the guy on the light bulb line working on the jet engine. They had two different levels of expertise, a process focused deliberately on that particular task that helped produce the product. And that's no different in any business industry, and particularly no different in football, especially when you think about recruiting, opponent analysis, game planning, and then game plan installation with your players throughout the week, throughout the year. And it's really, I think what gets me is, and as I'm having this therapy session with you right now, I think what gets me is that everybody talks about how college football has professionalized, but and college basketball as well. When you see that, like, I was at the Baylor Houston game, and each team had about 15 people dressed like a coach on the bench compared to the 15 athletes. The 1-to-1 ratio is phenomenal. But that's like the NBA and the NFL. So it should be no surprise. You know, while the Bills and Broncos were getting ready to play last week, they had people looking at preparing for free agency. They have been evaluating their own team as the year goes by with the coaches involved.
Right.
So if they're able to do it with less people,
a lot less people.
Yeah. Why can't the college coaches who make upwards of $8, $9, $10 million a year, and their staffs who are paid in the top 1% of this country, if not globally in terms of income, why can't they do it? Why is that such a huge talking point that we fall into believing, and it creates a trap for us in our daily lives, almost in our business? And I mean, I fall into it. Oh, you know, I've got these 6 things going on today. Well, if I just focused, I would get 15 things done, but I allow myself to get out of the process. I allow my team to get out of the process. We all experience those things. And I was thinking about that. I was just like, none of that argument makes sense to me. The only thing that makes sense to me is the national championship shouldn't be played right between the divisional round and the conference championships.
No.
Life moves fast, but the unexpected doesn't care about your calendar. At the Polian Agency, we help successful families protect what they've worked so hard to build. From life insurance to smart coverage strategies, we tailor protection that grows with you, so you're prepared for whatever's next. The Polian Agency, where protection meets purpose. Visit PolianAgency.com or call 254-772-1444 to start the conversation.
Should have been over by now.
Yes.
But, you know, I think back to when I was playing, and it comes back to routines and standards. Is, you know, I had one sports psychologist say to me, you know, you talk about the big moments and the pressure, is that, you know, your focus doesn't break in the big moments. It breaks in the small interruptions. And if you're doing the small things in a sequence, in a routine, then you won't fail in the big moment. Mm-hmm. So it's the small details. It's the focus in being able to, prioritize, categorize, departmentalize those things that might become small interruptions that will break you down when the big moment becomes too big. Mm-hmm. It's not that the moment's too big. It's just that those other little things that you didn't take care of caused you to lose focus. Yeah. You know?
In your experience as a player, as a coach, as a leader, how long do you think it's always ongoing, nothing's ever perfect, but how long do you think it takes for somebody who's not naturally thinking that way to kind of break through and believe in that type of process?
I think everybody's different. We're all different. It took me a while to gain a certain level of maturation that gave me a certain level of confidence to know that I could compete at that level. And it's just, I was kind of, I think people fall in two categories. This is kind of my own personal kind of opinion, is that you have a group of people in a lane that have confidence before they have success, and then you have people that need success before they gain confidence. And I was in the latter. I needed the success to have the confidence, and what I learned is that I projected a false confidence. And in a way, it was kind of good because, I mean, my mind was going to who I thought I was. I just didn't trust who I thought I was. And until I had that success, and until I realized that, and you see this, going from the college, your experience in college to professional ranks is, you've seen players that you knew that once they got that structure in the professional league, in the NFL, and they got that kind of superior coaching and development, that you saw the talent there. They just, somebody didn't know what lane they were in and didn't know how to coach them up the right way. This just popped in my head, but I always watched. I remember I just turned pro. I was living in Orlando, and I went and watched Vince Carter play. I'm going to date myself here. I went and watched Vince Carter play high school basketball.
Oh, wow.
And then
early 19th century.
Yeah, thanks. They were shooting into a peach basket or whatever it was. Naismith was coaching, I think, but. And another, I'd finished the thought with Vince Carter, but I saw him playing high school, and then I saw him go to North Carolina, and I always knew that guy was going to be better in the pros than he was in college. And the same thing went with Donovan Mitchell at my alma mater, University of Louisville. I mean, I knew that guy was going to be a better pro than he was in college. Don't know if I answered your question, but again, I think it's just, we talk about business, busy feels good, and focus kind of in a way feels uncomfortable.
Yep.
Because being focused is boring.
Yeah.
And most of the great athletes, business people, entrepreneurs, philanthropists, doctors, whatever, they do the boring really, really freaking good.
Yep. And you hear athletes all the time at the end of the year, when they're picking up their trophy and doing the interviews, they talk about their routine and consistency, week in and week out, consistency. Well, now, a modern day example would be the CEO of JP Morgan Chase, Jamie Dimon. He is the banking version of that same routine 7 days a week, no matter where he is in the world, whether he's at home with his family, on vacation, on a business trip, at headquarters. It is the same routine every morning. He starts his day the same exact way. And you see there's a lot out of him right now because he was a big proponent of back to the office. And he reminds me of a little bit of John Wooden with a lot of bad language.
Right.
Activity is not achievement. Activity is not focus. Activity is distraction. And I read a study for every time you're distracted, guess how long it takes for you to come back into focus in the workplace?
21 minutes.
About 25 minutes.
Yeah.
So if you're distracted 4 times, that's 1 hour.
Yeah.
Think about how many times we're actually distracted with our phone, with a knock on the door, with a problem that's really not a problem. And as those distractions are brought to us as leaders and business owners, think about the amount of distraction that the people are bringing them to us experience, and then think about how inefficient you are. So maybe, maybe it's not about the chaos. It's really about your investment in process and system to deal with the chaos, because that's kind of life.
Yeah, and everybody thinks, well, you know what? I just need to focus harder. But trying harder doesn't work.
No, it's not about the effort.
No, it's all about the structure.
Yep.
And it's gosh, I was just talk about distractions. I mean, it's not just exclusive to us, but I mean, I'm just thinking about today, just the stuff that, dealing with some in office stuff, and it gets, and it just takes one person, one moment, and then it's a trickle down effect.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And the next thing you know, you've had a lot of people spend a lot of effort on nothing. At the end of the day,
yes,
it's nothing.
Yep.
It's zero net gain.
Mm-hmm.
And you try to find ways as a leader to say the right things in those moments. But then again, it all comes back that if we're boring and we're doing it every day the same way, every day is not the same, but if the baseline is the same, then those 25 minutes become 20 minutes, become 15 minutes, become 5 minutes, and then now you got a machine.
Yep. That's what takes effort, because it requires you to be intentional. And if you're in the leadership role, this is where I love Kurt Signetti for, like, he could run any company in any business. If the leader holds you accountable to that, you're going to improve and get better as long as you want to. If the leader doesn't hold you accountable to that, if the leader's not providing an example, then nothing's going to get better. And you're basically going to be holding on to your seat, hoping you make a profit, hoping you make payroll, hoping the next idea becomes the thing. Just like you know, in sports, you see it with some of the dysfunctional organizations. You hope you get the guy in free agency in basketball that's going to actually get you into the playoffs. You hope the quarterback falls to you. That may be the answer. That's still a 50-50. And hope. My father always used to say, hope is not a plan.
Sounds good.
It does sound good.
Feels good. Right?
I didn't understand what he meant until I was, might have been 18, but I had been hearing it since I was 9 or 10, so it was ingrained.
Yeah, and it all comes back to people ask you. You've asked other people. I think about it in the different places and things that I've done is. How do you create a culture? Well, you create a culture by reinforcing it every single day.
Yep. I used to think culture was just about people, and it's really more about the process
than people.
People are important because they have to fit the process, but without the process, it doesn't matter how good people are, and you can mistake comfort for culture. And I have a younger team, and I tell them that all the time, just because we like each other's company, and just because we listen to good music sometimes during the day, and we're gonna take a few extra days off compared to other people in our industry, and we have the ability to earn freedom in our schedule. Doesn't mean we have a good culture. That just means we're comfortable where we work. And that's a heck of a lot different than having a process that each and every person's accountable to, because without it, the distractions of all of the outside forces, the things you don't control, really do take root.
Yeah, we're talking about being boring, but being boring is just about being consistent in your standards and the process. It doesn't mean that we don't have fun. I had a motto in my agency that, we have fun, but we're serious about our business. And it was something that kind of live by every day is that you can find a lot of joy and humor in the boring, in the mundane, because the boring creates success.
Yep.
And that's fun. It's fun winning, right?
It is.
So, going in, that if you stick to your process, you stick to your routine, back to the golf thing, some of the things I did were just, I mean, and the time you were doing it and the time, I'm working with sports psychologists, because anytime I went to a sports psychologist, it was all about simplifying the process. Mm-hmm. And you get so kind of whacked out with everything that's going on, with thinking about everything but the target. And I went to 4 different sports psychologists in 12 years of playing, and it was, the message was delivered differently because they were different people, but the goal was the same. All we're trying to do is hit it from point A to point B and just get consumed in the target. And what are the little things that we do to trigger the subconscious to just get totally just engrossed in the target? Mm-hmm. And I always, when I try to put myself in those situations when I was practicing, is when I got the most nervous, it was, I'm just trying to make this ball go from A to B. That's all I'm trying to do. We're not looking at the other letters in the alphabet. And it got to the point when I got nervous is that I got mad. And I got mad at the architect. Yeah. Or and not mad in like negative energy mad, like, hey, you set this, you designed this hole to trick me, and I'm not going to let you trick me. Yeah. Because I know that it's as easy as taking this ball, and if I had the ability to walk it out there, I wouldn't go here and I wouldn't go there. I just go out there and drop it right where my target is. And it all comes back to what we do personally and professionally, is that we get so distracted by stuff that it's nothing.
It really is nothing.
I mean, it's nothing.
And it's think about how fortunate we've been to come up in industries and environments that were so competitively intense in a positive way, but were the ultimate examples of the work is the work and you got to do the work. And then think about all of the people who haven't had that exposure, especially Gen Z, who I got a lot of problems with you people, as Frank Costanza would say. And I don't mind saying,
don't throw rocks at my car. I didn't endorse that.
I say it to my team all the time. There is no shortcut. It is what it is. And
it's human nature to find the shortcut.
And the shortcuts are mirages, and they are the result of a lack of focus and a desire to kind of get through it. But the thing is, the benefits of not taking the shortcuts are actually the shortcut, because in the long run, when you've done the work, when you've put in all that work into your process and into the things you do every day, the compounding impact on that makes you so successful in the long run. It creates resilience. It creates the ability to refocus in 10 minutes instead of 25. It takes it puts you in a position essentially where you're living the life you want to live. And all of the distractions that Gen Z has grown up with, basically being born into iPhones and screens, there's very little testing of that patience, very little emphasis on that kind of work ethic in the beginning, and it's on the leaders of organizations to actually keep training and developing them. And the sports example is perfect. college athletics used to develop.
Yeah.
They don't anymore, especially basketball and football.
Mm-hmm.
And it was never viewed when I was a scout, even working for my dad, it was never our view that we needed to develop somebody. It was the strength staff's and the coaching staff's job to improve them. But college football has become such a big business. And when you look at the kids coming into, I'm aging myself by saying kids, but when you look at those guys coming into the NBA now, it's clear that it's different, with the exception of a very few. And they also need more time to develop. And that's unfortunate. But I think there's got to be a kind of a pivot in how everybody looks at it, because if you're a first-round draft pick, the media is going to tell everybody around you should achieve A, but you're actually really not ready anymore. You could argue you used to, back in the old days, an offensive guard could come out of college ready to roll and play as a rookie. I'd have to go back through my history books, but I can see the faces of all those guys back in the day with the Buffalo Bills. That offensive line that Jim Kelly had, I mean, a lot of them came in young and unsung and were just ready to play football. And they had unbelievable work ethic and the ability to persevere through hard things. Some of those defensive linemen, unbelievable. And that is not happening even in competitive sports anymore. So then think about the folks who are just coming out of college without that.
Well, and coaches back then, again, sound like a couple old guys on the front porch, but coaches back then, they didn't allow you to take shortcuts.
Yep.
You know, and you knew it going in. And I think coaches today still have the same mindset, but they're dealing with a different young man or young lady now, to where there's a lot of participation trophies have been given out, and a lot of kids didn't focus on the core fundamentals. Mm-hmm. They got away with their athleticism, and they had coaches that just let them go and didn't hold them accountable. And now these guys, coming out of college now, they almost have to be reprogrammed at the next level because, they had to be coddled a little bit.
Yep. Which is too bad, because you can hold somebody accountable without coddling them.
No.
And I think most competitors,
they want to be coached.
They want it.
They want
to be coached.
Yeah.
And before it used to be about, well, I'm the coach, you're the player, so you're going to listen to me. Mm-hmm. Now, and I do believe this is the right thing to do the way it is now, is I'm the coach, you're the player, I'm going to build your trust in me, and then I'm going to hold you accountable. And I'm also going to let you build my trust in you. And, that relational approach really is the same in team development in companies. At least that's what we do every day at my spot.
Right. And I think that the trust component is huge nowadays. It used to be that, you came home and, you told your parents, well, coach told me to do this or coach made me do that. And your parents just said, well, he's the coach. Mm-hmm. So shut up and listen.
Yeah.
And now the athlete is different today, to where they need to trust you, and you need to trust them in order to maximize their abilities and their talents. So is the old way, was it good then? Yeah, at the time it worked, but I think coaching and developing, I think, has become more of an art nowadays than it was in the past. It's just, rub some dirt on it and get back in the game and get after it. And this is the way we do it. And we saw it with Coach Saban. He realized that he had to change and adapt the way that, not necessarily his core beliefs, but maybe some of his schemes, and more so on the offensive side.
Yep.
He knew he had to change in order to continue to be successful. But his coaching, the way he did it and his routines and his standards never changed. Never changed.
The process never changed.
Yep.
And the process was about execution and focus. And we've talked about 7 different things when we were supposed to talk about focus. So we're just as responsible. That's all my fault.
It is your fault. I was very focused when I came in. Then we got random stats about 25 minutes. I just got distracted for the last 15. I'm working on 25 just so I can be average.
I got nothing for that.
Yeah, I'll be back in 10 minutes, right? So I'm still trying to process the distraction that you threw at me. But no, and I think a lot of, well, I was thinking about today, and we perceive distraction as laziness, and really, the problem is we really didn't. Our focus became unprotected a little bit. And again, it all comes back to the same things. And people and we appreciate you listening and think, man, all these guys talk about is just process and standards and boring routines. And these guys this Front Porch is just.
It's the most exciting, boring show there is.
But, when I say unprotected focus, the focus is a choice. And the kind of the discipline to carry out the process and the standards and the baseline beliefs that your organization or your team has is it's non-negotiable.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And and when we get distracted, we think that those standards are negotiable, and they're not.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I really appreciate you saying that distraction is not laziness. That's a great point. I never thought about it that way, but your focus being unprotected is a great way to essentially summarize what's the unintended consequences of all the advantages we have with technology today and the conveniences of life, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And, the bottom line is we do all have a choice. And I think as business leaders, as coaches, and as competitive athletes, you have a choice, and there's always going to be 10 different things going on, 12 months a year, 7 days a week. It's how you go about attacking it and executing in the system you work in. That's going to dictate your success, because those distractions are not going away. It doesn't matter when the games are played. It doesn't matter when free agency is, or when the portal is, or when you can turn pro. It doesn't matter when the fiscal year ends. It doesn't matter when your company, changes your goals. It's the process that you're working within, and how consistent are you at executing that?
And if your intent is on your routine, I think back to playing. I look at, I'm still just, I follow golf nonstop. I don't play much anymore, but if you have such intent on your routine, then all your talents are triggered subconsciously. So then you kind of, not that you remove thought, but your mind can then, you can get out of your own way to excel beyond whatever you thought you could achieve. And it sounds so boring that these guys, routine. But I think about, there's a little OCD in there, but I mean, I still to this day have certain routines that I do every day so I can halfway function. But I know those routines set me up to be successful in what I have to accomplish that day. And I think personally, I've, the times that I've struggled is I tried to reinvent myself or something that, because I got bored with the process and the routine a little bit and thought I needed to be somebody or something that I wasn't. And it was a failure 9 times out of 10. Mm-hmm. And that's...
Yep. Yeah.
That's
a great place to leave it. Failure out of 9 times out of 10.
Uh-huh.
The bottom line is, no matter what you do, find a way to be intentional about, one, having fun, mm-hmm. but taking it seriously, being consistent, and focus on your process. Don't focus on the noise. And with that, I think that's a great place to leave it for today. As always, we appreciate everybody joining us on the Front Porch. And we'll see you next time.
See you in a couple weeks. Thanks for listening.
Thank you for joining us on the Front Porch. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to follow, share, and leave a review so more people can join the conversation. Until next time, keep showing up, keep leading strong, and we'll see you back on the porch soon.
This has been a Rogue Media Network production.